Okay, everybody, it's Alicia, and I am going to start the graphing review for your final exam. And this just consists of 8 different problems that you should graph. And I do want to encourage you to have a graphing calculator when you take your final exam. That's super, super important. And just look at all your different kinds of graphs. Pretty much on your final exam, anything that you've had to graph this semester is going to show up on your final exam. So here we are starting with a piecewise function. And what the piecewise function does is it uses a function depending on where you are on the x-axis. So I just want to remind you that anytime that we are talking about restricting the domain, we are talking about our x-axis. So that is the axis that you're going to focus on. So let's look at where it changes. And it changes at -4. So when I do these functions, I just draw a line at x equals -4. So here's my line where x equals -4. And what that does is it lets me know that when x is less than or equal to -4, I'm talking about the function f of x is equal to -x. You can also think of that as y equals -x. So we're talking about a linear function there. But when x is greater than -4, our function changes. So it's 1/2 x plus 1. You can also think of that as y equals 1/2 x plus 1. And that's just a different notation. So let's look at this. We're going to do our first one. We're going to do the -x first. So a lot of times when I draw these or when I graph these, I just focus on the line y equals -x. Okay, so I'm going to graph that entire graph y equals -x. So in y equals -x, my intercept is 0. There's my intercept right there. And my slope is -1/1. So I'm going to go down 1 and to the right. So there's my dot. I can also go up 1 and over 1. So up is positive, to the left is negative. Okay? And so I am going to graph my entire y equals -1, y equals -x function. Okay, so that's what I've done in purple, is I have graphed the entire function. Okay, so now I am going to go to blue, and we are going to graph this function, y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So in the y equals 1/2 x plus 1, our intercept is +1. So it starts at +1. And our slope is up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. And that is a positive slope. So now we are up 1 over 2. We can also go down 1, which is -1, and to the left, -2. So that is a -1 over a -2, which makes that positive. And again, what I have done is I have graphed this on the entire graph. So we are actually going to have to start erasing things now. So when I come back and I look at my first function, my y equals -x, that is only true when x is less than or equal to -4. So we are going to look right here at my line that I have drawn, and only the part that we're going to keep is the part that's less than -4. So my purple line, anything that x is greater than -4, I'm going to erase. So all of this down here gets erased, as well as this area right here. And the reason I've done that is because my piecewise function is only talking about f of x equals negative x when x is less than or equal to negative 4. So we're going to focus a little bit on this or equal to sign right here. So when x is equal to negative 4, it is going to be my purple function. And the way I signify that is with a closed circle. Okay? So when x is negative 4, I've got to follow my f of x equals negative x. So you can see right there that I've got a closed dot. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to hop down to our second function, which is f of x equals 1/2 x plus 1. That is the function that we are going to use when x is greater than negative 4. Now in our first function, the f of x equals negative x, we already had a solid dot at negative 4. So because this is x is greater than negative 4, we are going to have an open circle where x is negative 4. So we're just going to signify that with a circle right there. Now I'm going to erase some of that and then redraw it again. So my blue line right here, I am erasing that because that is when x is less than negative 4. So here we're back. I'm doing a circle right here. And so there we've got our second function. Okay? Now we've got our red. The red is not part of our graph, so I am erasing the dotted line. So there we have it. There is our piecewise function of f of x equals negative x when x is less than or equal to negative 4, and it is 1/2 x plus 1 when x is greater than negative 4. And that is our piecewise function.